Very good morning to all of you.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
So let me take the attendance. Gaurav Agarwal, Harshit, Karthikeyan, Kushi,
Yes, sir.
Parth, Narendra Bhai,
Yes,
Vikas,
Yes, sir.
Pushpendra Pal, Rahul Jevaria, Rakesh Raika,
Present, sir.
Ravi Raman, Rohan
yes,
Modi,
sir.
Present,
Shaurya
sir.
Dixit, and Tarush.
Yes, sir.
Present,
Sir.
sir.
Yeah, so let me just show you what we have done till date and what is pending. So we have completed up to quasi contract, and in next 4 days we will be finishing this portion. Okay, so discharge of contract and remedies for the breach of contract. This we will be doing in the coming week, so that our classes will also be appropriate up to the point, and we will be finishing it off. In means we will be online then, because in order to explain you in a better way, some classes have been extended. Means I have taken a bit slower, but now because you have understood the crux of the contract, you have understood all about the contracts, and now I think I will be able to take it up further. But still, if you find that I am going fast, please tell me, so that I can improve myself. I can and the main thing is learning should happen. Okay, so that is the main purpose for which we are doing it. Otherwise, classes one or two extra will also work, no problem. Fine. So just let me just take you to today's presentation. Fine. So here we go. So discharge or termination of contract, from here we will start. Okay. So what do you mean by discharge of contract? Any one of you? Discharge of contract.
Sir, cancellation of contract.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. What else? Anyone else? Let me tell you, your participation will give you marks. Okay. And this is being recorded also. So more you will participate, there is a tendency to get good marks. And let me tell you one more thing, no answer will be a wrong answer.
Sir, contract not valid.
Contract
Not valid.
not valid. Contract not
Invalidity of
valid.
contract.
Discharge is something the parties are free from their obligations. When the parties are free from their obligations, then it is called that contract is being discharged. Okay, so it's like that. So let me just take you further with this. So there are certain modes of discharge we will study. A contract is said to be discharged or terminated when the rights and the obligation arising out of the contract are extinguished. Means either you have fulfilled the rights and obligations, or you have actually told that okay, we will not fulfill. Okay, so cancellation of contract, as just now told, okay, is also a part of it. So contract may be discharged or terminated by the following modes. One is performance, that is by fulfillment of the duties undertaken by the parties. For example, A promises to sell his car to B. So when A has promised to sell his car to B, and A has fulfilled his car by transferring the car to B, and B has paid the amount of the car to A. So in this way, the performance of contract has happened from both the parties, and the contract is said to be discharged. Second is by mutual consent or agreement, that they may both of the parties may actually mutually give consent. Okay, we will not go for with the agreement, or both the parties with mutual consent determines that okay, let the price of the car be 5,000 less or whatever. So there can be some alteration in the contract or something like that. So that will be by mutual consent. Third is lapse of time. For example, the contract is to be completed within a certain specific period of time. The time has actually gone, so the contract will be terminated or discharged by the lapse of time. Next is operation of law. For example, one has contracted A has contracted B to supply about 1,000 bottles of liquor in Gujarat, and suddenly what happens, the date when the contract was to be executed, the Gujarat government has actually gone for a declared it as a dry state. So now you cannot execute the contract over there. So it is discharged by operation of law. So there are certain impossibilities for performance of a contract. Just like just this, I have told you the operation of law also, and this now it has become impossible to perform the contract by that person in state of Gujarat. So it is called impossibility. Because of impossibility also sometimes the contract actually gets discharged or terminated. And next is the breach of contract. The party, one of the party has actually not complied with or has told I will not go for the contract, do whatever you want to do. That is called breach of contract. These are the 6 ways in which the contract can be discharged. So we will be discussing these things one by one over here. And in case you have any confusion in between, please stop me and ask your question so that I will be able to answer it in a better way. So first is your performance of contract. The simplest and the easiest way and the most ethical way of performing the, or you can say discharge of the contract, is the performance of the contract. Means the party should perform the contract for which they have contracted for. So it is covered in the section 37. So section 37 of the Act provides that the parties to the contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promises unless such performance is dispensed with or excused under the provision of the Indian Contract Act or any other law. So the parties must perform whatever they have to perform or whatever they have promised, or they must at least offer to perform their contract. Okay. In case of a death of a promisor before performance, the representatives of the promisor are bound to perform the promise unless contrary intention appears from the contract itself. Because if the contract is like that, only the person who has entered into a contract and who has now died is only the person who is able to perform the contract, in that case it can be treated in another way. But otherwise the legal hires of the person will be bound to just perform the contract on his part. Suppose for example the contract is to supply certain goods. So the person who has contracted has actually died, and his successor would be able to perform the contract on the behalf of the deceased from the, because the goods are already in the godown. So in that case it can be performed in this way, that he can supply the goods as per requirement. Okay. Example is this. For example, a promises to deliver a horse to Y on certain date of payment of ₹1,000. X dies before the day. X representatives are bound to deliver the horse to Y, and Y is bound to pay 1,000 to X representatives. Okay. So this is called performance of contract, or you can say the discharge of contract by its performance. So next is again the performance of contract will continue. Next is your tender of performance. So in case of some contract, it is sometimes sufficient if the promiser performs his side of contract. Then if the performance is rejected, the promiser is discharged from the further liability and may sue for the breach of the contract he so wishes. So this is called discharge by tender, or you are actually tendering. You are actually you are offering the things, or you can just now we have studied that even offer for performance is also a performance, or tender of performance is itself something which you are offering. To be a valid tender, one must fulfill the following condition. It must be unconditional. Means you are tendering certain things, and that too you are putting condition, then it will be a counter offer. It will not be a not be a performance of the contract. It must be made at a proper time and place. Means whatever time and place has been decided for the contract to happen, it must happen in that time and place only. Next is it must be made under the circumstances enabling the other party to ascertain that the party by whom it is made is able and willing then and there to hold of what he is bound, or to do its promise. Suppose for example one person is not having an intention to tender the contract, but he actually wants to show that he wants to tender and he wants to get rid of his liability. So at night at 12 o'clock he offered the goods to that person, because the timing starts because next day starts at 12 o'clock night. So at night at 12 o'clock, he rang the person who was sleeping and he told him, okay, I want to deliver the horse to you. So now if you want, you can take the delivery. Otherwise, I will treat it as a discharge of contract from your side. So this is not a proper tender because the circumstances is not at all enabling the promisee to accept the you can say the offer by, or you can say accept the tender of performance by the other person. Okay, so if the next is, if the tender relates to delivery of goods, the promise must have at a reasonable opportunity of seeing that the thing offered is the thing which is the promiser is bound by his promise to deliver. So there one must provide a opportunity of other to check what the first person is giving. So until unless you provide an opportunity, it will not be said to be a proper tender, or means you cannot just keep one person in blind and tender the performance. You cannot do that. So next is tender made to one of the several joint promisees has the same effect a tender to all of them. For example, the tender was to be done to either to X or X sons. So whomsoever X, it may be to X or X sons. So X son will, if a person has tendered it to X sons, so it will be equally as tendered as to X, because any one of them can be present in order to accept it. So it will be a valid tender if it is offered to one of the joint several promises to whom it has to be offered. Next is effect of refusal of the party to perform wholly. So section 39. So section 38 was regarding the tender of performance. Section 39 is provides that when a party to a contract has refused to perform or disabled himself from performing his promise in its entirely, the promisee may put an end to the contract unless he has signified by words or conduct his acquiescence in its continuance. Until and unless means, for example, something was to be provided. Suppose, for example, 100 bales of cotton was to be provided by A to B on certain specified time. Now, what happened on the certain specified time? A was not having sufficient bales to provide. He actually told, okay, I have 75, so you please accept 75 and remaining 25 I will give you tomorrow. So now the person is not wholly providing the things, but he is partly providing it. So partly can be accepted by the promisee, and if he accept the continuance, then it can be a valid tender, or you can say it can be one of the things which can be accepted, or otherwise the other party can also refuse to accept it. Okay, so suppose, for example, a singer enters into a contract with Y, the manager of a theater, to sing at his theater 2 nights in every week during next 2 months, and Y engaged to pay her ₹100 for each night performance. So on 6th night, X willfully absents herself from the theater. Y it as a liberty to put the end to the contract, because he has not, because YX, who is a singer, he has not actually performed the contract in full, and he has or she has made herself absent from the from appearance for absence in the theater on the due date. So that's why Y is at the liberty to discharge the contract by refusal of the party to perform the contract. So if in the above illustration with the assent of Y, X sings on the 7th night, Y is presumed to have signified his acquittances in continuance of the contract and cannot put an end to it, but it is entitled to a compensation for the damages sustained by him through X failure to sing on the 6th day. So if any compensation is to be paid, then the compensation is to be paid by Y, and from 7th day it can continue with it. So it totally depends on the promisee whether to accept it or not. So anyways, now section 40 tells you about that who by whom the contract must be performed. So under section 40 of the Act, if it appears from the nature of the case that it was the intention of the parties to the contract that it should be performed by the promiser himself, such promise must be performed by the promiser himself only. In other cases, promiser or his representative may employ a competent person to perform it. For example, A promises to pay ₹1,000 to Y. X promises to pay ₹1,000 to Y, X may either personally pay the money to Y or cause it to be paid to Y by any other person. If X dies before making the payment, his representative must perform the promise or employ some proper person to do so. Okay, so this is, but in case when it is regarding some specific performance by the by the promiser, in that case it will not be applicable, because for example X promises to paint a picture of Y, so X must personally perform the promise because he cannot actually tell anyone else to prepare it, because it is something which is related to the specific performance of the contract. Okay, now next is devolution of joint liabilities. So for example, under section 42, this is covered under section 42 and 43. Under section 42 of Indian Contract Act, where two or more persons have made a joint promise, then unless a contrary intention appears from the contract, all such persons should perform the promise. Okay, so if there is a joint promise which is made by, means the promisers are more than one person, and promise is one which is to be performed by all of them, so all should perform it. If any one of them dies, his representative jointly with the survivor or the survivors should perform. After the death of the last survivor, the representative of all jointly must fulfill the promise. So this is what the case is. But again, for the specific performance, this rule is not applicable. For example, the performance is to be made by X, Y, and Z to Mr. A. So X was to pay rupees, suppose the performance is regarding the payment of 1500 rupees. So 1500 rupees, so each should pay rupees 500 to A. So now what happens if X and Y pays and Z is not paying? So both X and Y will pay it, or any one of them will pay it, or X survivor, or you can say X representative will pay it. If X representative is also not there, then X and Z representative is not there, then X and Y will both pay 750 rupees to the promisee. So this is what is dissolution of the liabilities. So one more thing is there. If in this case, under section 43 of the contract, when two or more persons made joint promise, the promisee may, in the absence of the express agreement to the contrary, compel any one of them. Now what happens if no one of them is performing the contract? In that case, the promisee, that is A, can compel any one of them to perform the contract. So each of the two or more joint promisers may compel every other joint promiser to contribute equally with himself to performance of the promisee, unless a contrary intention appears from the contract. Unless a contrary intention appears means it should not be a contract of specific performance like painting a picture or doing singing a song, something like that. So if any one of two or more promisers make default in such contribution, the remaining joint promiser should bear the loss arising from the, and then afterwards they have to share it equally. So this is what the thing is. Means in case of joint promisers, so section 42 and 43 will be applicable. Examples are given. For example, X, Y, and Z jointly promises to pay rupees 6,000 to A. So A may compel either X or Y or Z to pay the amount. So A may compel anyone to pay the amount. Then afterwards, whosoever pays can take their share amongst themselves. So in the above example, imagine Z is compelled to pay the whole amount. X is insolvent, but his assets are sufficient to pay one half of his debt. So Z is entitled to receive 1,000 from X state and 2,500 from Y, because he will be paying entire 6,000, but X state is giving only 1,000. So remaining he has to take it from 2,500 from Y, and 500 he will bear, and 2,000 was his share himself. So this is what it is. So X, Y, and Z make a joint promise to pay rupees 5,000 to A. Z is unable to pay any amount. X is compelled to pay the whole amount. X is entitled to receive the remaining amount of rupees 3,000 from Y. Under section 44 of the Act, where two or more persons have made a joint promise, a release of one of such joint promiser by the promisee does not discharge the joint promiser. neither does it free the joint promisor or release from the responsibility to another joint promisor or joint promisors. So now what happens, that it is not in hand of the promisee to release any of the joint promisor. Okay, for example, I'm having some good terms with X. Suppose A is having good terms with X. So X, Y, and Z, three of them are to perform the contract. Now I cannot just tell, okay, I will release X. Now remaining of both of you have to pay me. It is not like that. Even if he says like that, Y and Z can be compelled to pay the amount to him, but then afterwards this promisee means Mr. A cannot stop Y and Z to realize the amount of X share from X. Okay, so this is how it, because it is not on the discretion of the promisee to release the promiser. Okay, so if both of them, if all of them, X, Y, and Z, have mutually agreed that okay, let us release X from his duties, then they can do it. Then Y and Z can pay X share also, releasing him from his liabilities. But in no case the promisee will be able to do it. Next is your discharge by mutual agreement. Any problem till now in the performance of the contract? Shaurya?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I hope this is crystal clear, because nothing more is required. Khushi?
No, sir. No
Rakesh,
problem.
Raika, Tarush?
No, sir.
Fine. So let me proceed further. Okay. So next is discharge by mutual agreement. So when both of the parties have mutually agreed, means promisor and promisee have mutually agreed to just change the terms and conditions of the contract, or means alter the contract in one or the other way, or mutually they have decided not to perform the contract. Okay, you will not perform your part, I will not perform my part, and nobody will file a suit against each other. So this is something discharged by mutual agreement or consent. Okay, so discharging of contract may be discharged by the agreement of all the parties to the contract, or by waiver or release by the party entitled to the preference. So both of them will release each other. Okay, you will not perform yours and I will not perform mine. Okay, so methods stipulated under section 62 and 63 of Indian Contract Act for discharging the contract by mutual consent are: first is novation. Novation is when a new contract substitutes the existing contract, either between the same parties or between the different parties. So the consideration mutually being the discharge of old contract. So for example, some old contract is there for supplying of, suppose, 1000 bales of cotton by A to B. Now what happens, A is actually not able to fulfill this and the date is coming. So A has told C to enter to that, please you enter into a contract with B and I will discharge my old contract and this will be the price and remaining I will pay you whatever. So he can, before the contract is going to be performed on before the due date, he can tell this to happen. So he will, what the thing will, what now will be the situation? We will enter into a fresh contract with C for supplying of again the same bales of cotton which was to be supplied by A, and in discharge of the contract, the previous contract, this will be the contract which is being again placed in picture. Okay, so this is called novation. So it can be between the same parties also, it can be between the old parties also, means the new parties also. So here C has become a new party. So it can be entered into between C and B. Okay, so this will be called novation. Novation itself, the name says, is newation. Novation means something new. So new contract will substitute the old contract, then there will be no novation. May the parties be same, may the parties be different. Next is alteration. Change in one or more of the material terms of the contract. When there is a change in, or you can say the people have decided to change the contract, or you can say people have decided to change the terms and conditions of the contract, which are the material contract. For example, 1000 bales are to be provided. Now that party needs 1100 bales of cotton. So there will be alteration in the terms and conditions, that instead of 1000 bales, now 100 bales more are to be supplied by one party to another, and it will be called alteration of the contract. Okay. Next is rescission. Rescission is cancellation of the contract by agreement between the parties at any time before it is discharged by the performance or in some other way as a result that nobody is required to perform the contract. So this is called rescinding. So when both parties have actually agreed to cancel the contract which was initially done, that is called rescission. Next is remission, acceptance of lesser sum what was contracted for or lesser fulfillment of the promise which is made. In other words, discharge to a party by accepting his less performance in lieu of the whole can also be done. For example, 1000 bales was to be supplied. Now only 900 bales are there. So 900 bales has been accepted by the other party, and this will be called remission. Means remission is to give. So he is actually giving his acceptance to accept the lesser amount, or you can say the lesser performance of the contract in the lieu of the whole. So the contract was actually for 1000 bales. Now he is actually, because there is a crisis in the market. So instead of going into litigation, what they have decided to accept the less amount sometimes, because market is also short. So whatever is available now may not be available in the future. So something like that, because of the circumstances, it may happen. Next is waiver. So waiver is deliberate abandonment or giving up the right which a party is entitled to under a contract, whereupon the other party to the contract is released from his obligation. So you are telling, okay, it's okay, fine, you do not means for example, suppose I have paid advance for the cotton bales also, and the other party is now not at all able to supply. So what I have told him, okay, you keep the advance, we will just adjust it sometime. You do not, if you are not at all in position, okay, I just give you a waiver. You may not perform your contract. I will not file a suit against you. So this can be a waiver also, where one party releases the other by his obligation to perform the contract. So these all are the examples of discharge by mutual agreement. Any problem? Anyone? Or any question you want to ask?
No, sir.
Fine. So I hope I'm going good with the examples also I'm providing. I hope you are able to understand that. Fine. Okay. So let me proceed further. Next is discharge by lapse of time. So the limitation acts in certain circumstances affords a good defense to suit for the breach of contract, and in fact terminates the contract by depriving the party for its remedy to law. So Limitation Act is the Limitation Act 1963, which actually provides for the time duration in which the contract by various parties are to be performed. So if the time duration is lapsed, so actually it actually let the other party discharge from discharge by the lapse of time. It happens with the other party, and other party actually in fact he gets terminated from the contract. Okay, so for example, where a debtor has failed to repay the loan on the stipulated date, so what happens? The creditor must file a suit against him within 3 years of the default. So here the limitation period is 3 years. So if the limitation period of 3 years expires and the creditors had not taken any action, so he will be barred from this remedy, and the other person is discharged for his liability to perform the contract. Means the other person is totally free. Now he may not pay you the amount anytime, because you have also not filed a suit. It means your intention is not to actually, bind other party to perform the contract as such. Next is discharge by operation of law. So discharge under this head may take place as follows. It may be by merger, when the parties embody the inferior contract in a superior contract, by unauthorized alteration of the terms of a written document, where a party to a written contract makes any material alteration without the knowledge and the consent of the other, the contract can be avoided by the other party, and by insolvency. So Insolvency Act provides and is discharged the people who has become insolvent, okay, from his obligation of fulfilling the contract. For example, where the court passes an order of discharging the insolvent, This order exonerates or discharges him from the liabilities of the debts incurred various, because he has now become insolvent. Insolvent are not at all competent to contract even. Okay, so let me just take you, because I hope you are not able to understand this merger. Merger, when the parties embodies the inferior contract in a superior. For example, a person has entered into a rent agreement for that particular house in which he is already living. So the rent agreement is there, and the house in which he is already living, he actually enters into a contract to buy or purchase that house on a certain specified date. So the agreement of rent actually merges with the agreement of buying the contract. In that case, both the parties are discharged, or means the party who is paying the rent is discharged from paying the rent, because now he is going to purchase that particular house within, suppose for example, within 2 months. So for 2 months, he has already given some advance. So the contract says that after 2 months he will get the registry done, and on the due date he will get the registry done. For these 2 months he need not to pay any rent, because the time period has allowed it, that because it is a merger of the contract of rent agreement in the contract of you can say the purchase of that particular house. So this is the discharge of contract by merger. Next is discharge by impossibility or frustration. Frustration actually is a word which is not used in Indian context. It is a word which is used in English law. So we will just use discharge by impossibility of contract. So a contract which is entered into to perform something that is clearly impossible is totally void. You know it very well. Okay. So for instance, A agrees with B to discover a treasure by magic. Okay, so the agreement is void by virtue of section 56 para 1, which lays down the principle that an agreement to do an act impossible is itself is a void. So at least in legal sense, in scientific sense, doing a magic and finding a treasure is totally not at all you can say feasible, or it is totally impossible to enter into a contract like that. So it will be void ab initio, because it is impossible at the time of entering into. Sometimes subsequent impossibility happens, where the impossibility supervenes after the contract has been made. So this is called supervening impossibility. So this renders the performance of a contract unlawful and stand its discharge. For example, where a singer contracts to sing and become too ill to do so, the contract becomes void, because he cannot sing, because he is discharged from his contract. So in this connection, para 1 is saying this, what para 2 is saying. In this connection, para 2 of section 56 provides that a contract to do an act which after the contract is made become impossible, or by reason of some event the promisor could not prevent, unlawful, becomes void, then the contract become impossible or unlawful. So this is actually explanation of para 1 itself. Okay, so if the impossibility is not obvious and the promisor alone knows of the impossibility or illegality, then the existing or the promisor might have known such after using the reasonable diligence. Such promisor is bound to compensate the promisee for any loss he may suffer through the non-performance of the promise, in spite of the agreement being void. So void ab initio. So this is para number 56. So sometimes what happens, the impossibility is known by one party, but it is not shared to the other party. Okay, so in that case, it will not be possible. Means in that case, the party who knows the impossibility has to compensate the other party. Okay, so there are two types of this you can say impossibilities. One is I have told you about the supervening impossibility. The contract will be discharged by subsequent or supervening impossibility in the following ways. Okay, number one is where the subject matter of the contract is destroyed without the fault of the party, the contract is said to be discharged. So it will be discharged by because the subject matter itself is not there. So it will not be possible for the party to perform the contract. When the contract is entered into on the basis of continued existence of certain state of affairs, the contract is discharged if the state of the affair changes or state changes. For example, I just told you the example of the Gujarat and liquor, because the moment it is declared as a dry state, the performance of contract is not possible. Where the personal qualification of a party of a party is basis of the contract discharged by the death or the physical disablement. Just like this one, the singer was not able to sing because he became so ill that he cannot sing at all. So this is actually the personal qualification. He is discharged by either by the death or the physical disablement of the party. Next is now this is supervening impossibility. Next is discharge by supervening illegality. So the thing which I have told you, that illegality with the supervening illegality, the things have become illegal afterwards. So the contract which is contrary to law at the time of its formation is void. It's totally void. But if the contract at the time of making the contract was valid, and then afterward because of the alteration of the law or the act or some person with the statutory authority, the performance of the contract become impossible, then the contract is said to be discharged. This is so because the performance of the promise is prevented or prohibited by a subsequent change in law. That's why it will be called. For example, A enters into a contract of cutting trees. By statutory provision, cutting trees is prohibited except under a license, and the same is refused to A. So, for example, the license has been refused. A applied for the license. Actually, it got refused. Now he cannot contract because the date on which this cutting of trees has become banned, the contract happened before that. Okay, so the cutting of tree is banned and is allowed only if it is under the license. A applied for the license was refused by the government to A. Now the contract is discharged because A cannot perform the contract because it is illegal to perform the same. Okay, next is your discharge by again the cases in which there is no. So now sometimes what happens that sometimes people just take the plea of having a supervening impossibility. They try to showcase certain circumstances in which it seems that there is a supervening or the impossibility which has become afterwards. It has now become impossible for them, or they actually are able to do it, but they just it seems that they are impossible to perform. In such a case, what will happen? So in the following cases, the contract are not discharged on the ground of supervening impossibility. First is difficulty to perform. So difficulty is not impossibility. Mere fact that the performance is more difficult or expensive than the parties anticipated does not discharge the duty of the perform. The person has to perform the contract in any of the ways, because this is not an excuse that I cannot just do it because it is difficult. The prices of the goods have increased so high that I can't supply you. So this is not the thing that a person has to perform the contract in that case. Though it is difficulty is not equal to impossibility. So any difficulty which is there, but the contract seem to be performed, it has to be performed. Next is commercial impossibilities. So commercial impossibility also do not discharge the contract. A contract is not discharged merely by expectation of higher profit is not realized, because the person who has expected the profit, now he is saying that I will not be able to earn the profit in the future because the prices have risen. Just now I have given you example of. So this is something called contract of impossibility. Okay, so contract, the commercial impossibility itself will not be accepted as a discharge by impossibility. Next is strikes or lockdowns and the civil disturbances like riots do not terminate the contract unless there is a clause in. There has to be a clause in the contract that if some strikes, lockdowns or lockouts or any of the riots happens, then it discharges the contract. In that case only it will be discharged. Otherwise, these will not allow the contract to be discharged automatically. Okay, now I have already told you the frustration in English law is used as a impossibility or illegality, but in Indian law we use only the impossibility, or you can say impossibility of the contract for performance, or you can say impossibility by illegality, but we do not use the word frustration. But still, frustration over here is used because it is used in English law, so I thought I should make you aware of this also, that what is used over there. Sometimes I may ask you also what is frustration in the Indian Contract Act. So you must not get frustrated at that time. Okay, please answer the question properly, because I have already told you what frustration is. Next is discharge by breach of contract. So where the promisor neither performs his contract nor does he tenders the performance, or where the performance is defective, there is it is called breach. Breach means todna. Breach means to break. So this is something which attracts the penalty. So last thing in the discharge of the contract is discharge by breach. So the breach of contract may be done by number one, actual breach, or it can be anticipated breach. Actual breach may take place either at the time of performance is due, At the time of performance of the contract, the person who has to perform the contract refuses to perform. So that is called actual breach. Next is anticipatory breach. Anticipatory breach means before the performance of the contract, the person has told, see, I am not able to perform it. The due date is yet to come, but I am not able to perform it, or I will not perform it. So that will be called anticipatory breach. So this may also take place in two ways. Means the anticipatory breach can also take place in two ways. By the promiser doing an act which makes the performance of his promise impossible, or by promiser in some other way showing his intention not to perform. So either the performance, either the promiser जो है वो he actually makes the contract impossible. For example, A has agreed to marry B after 6 months. Now what happened? A married C. So now it is not possible for him to perform his contract, and he cannot, just because this is what is, you can say, he has actually created a circumstances which has actually made the performance of the contract impossible, but he has intentionally done it. It is not a supervening impossibility or the act of God which has happened, which has actually made him made it impossible, but he intentionally has done it because he didn't wanted to perform the contract. This will be called a breach of contract, or you can say it is an anticipatory breach. Or at the before the due date, that is the marriage, he actually expressly tells B, A expressly tells B, I will not marry you. So this is also one of the anticipatory breach. The difference between actual and anticipatory is that the actual breach happens at the time of the contract, and it doesn't provide the other person any opportunity to think even. But anticipatory breach actually provides the promisee an opportunity to think that he is having some alternative or not, or what. Though it will not affect the remedies for breach of contract, but at least one time lag is there, which is so it is always good to have a anticipatory breach rather than the actual one, because actual will not provide you time at all. Okay. So anticipatory breach of contract, I have already told you. Breach of contract may occur before the time of performance is due. This may happen when where one of the parties definitely renounces the contract and shows his intention not to perform it, or does some act which makes the performance impossible. So the other party on such a breach being committed has a right of action to go for damages. He may either sue the breach of contract immediately after repudiation, or wait till the actual date comes. Suppose, for example, one person has actually told that I will not marry you. Okay, so the other person, that is B, may wait till the date of marriage and may allow the promiser to perform his promise on the due date. And if it is not performed, then he may file a suit. Or otherwise, because he has already gotten information that other person is not able to marry, at that time also that person can file a suit against him for the damages. So if a promisee adopts the latter course, that is waits till the date when the performance is due, he keeps the contract alive for the benefit of promiser as well as for his own. So he remains liable under it and enables the promiser not only to complete the contract in spite of the previous repudiation, but also to avail himself of an excuse of non-performance which may have come to an existence before time of the fixed performance. So what is suggested is that until and unless it is necessary, one must wait till the date of the performance of the contract, and side by side also arranges for his own, because if the person will not at all be able to make the contract, then the person should be readily available for having some alternative way. Okay, so there are certain illustrations given. Suppose this Hockester versus De La Tour. A hired B in April to act as a courier commencing employment from 1st June, but wrote to B in May repudiating the agreement. B sued A for the breach of contract immediately after repudiation. A contended that there could not be breach of contract before June 1, held B was immediately entitled to sue and did not wait till June 1 for his right of action. So the promisee can file a suit against the promiser any time after the repudiation of the contract, but he may also allow the other person to fulfill his contract even after his repudiation. In Avery versus Borden, what happened? A hired B's ship to carry a cargo from Russia. Later on, B repudiated the contract. A delayed taking action, hoping B would change his mind before the performance of the contract. And afterwards, what happened? War broke out between Russia and Britain before the performance date. Frustrating. Now it has become frustrating. Means now it is impossible. So held A lost his right to sue B for damages of the delay. So sometimes you may wait till the end, but it may also make you liable in the other way. So you may not be able to file a suit. So in this case, because the no contract has been will be called as a performed by supervening impossibility to perform, because the person has also not taken any action even after receiving the reply of not performance of the contract. Okay, so this is all about today's class, and if you have any doubt, please ask me so that I can resolve that, or otherwise I will ask you some question if the time permits. Come on, any one of you. So I think we have already exceeded time. I hope you are able to understand what I have taught you today. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So let me take the attendance. Drishti Verma, Gaurav Agarwal, Gautam Godra,
Present, sir.
Arshit,
Yes, sir.
Hemant Kumar Khatik, Kartik Rajput,
Present, sir.
Kartikeyan Sharma, Kushi
Yes,
Shekhawat,
sir.
Lakshraj
Yes, sir.
Singh, Patang
Yes,
Sharma,
sir.
Swami, Parth Arendra
Yes,
Bhai,
sir.
Present, sir.
Prakash
Present, sir.
Chaudhary,
Present, sir.
Rahul
Present,
Jevania,
sir.
Rakesh
Present,
Raika,
sir.
Ravi
Present,
Raman,
sir.
Rohan Modi, Rohan Pingale, Sandeep Singh Bhati, Shaurya Dikshit, Tarush Mudgal,
Present, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
Tirthak Kirti Bhai. So thank you, and whatever I have told you, just please revise it, okay? Because your exams will also be on the head, so soon we have to go for it. Okay, thank you for the day, and
Thank you, sir.
have a nice day, all of you. Thank you.